priorities and time, who you spend your time with,
Yeah.
how much it hurts when you're not with the people that you want to be with.
So joining me on the line today, I've got David Graeber from Shoestring Marketing. Welcome to the call, David.
Thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, going well, going well. So tell me about Shoestring Marketing, because it's a clever name, but you better explain what it is.
Shoestring Marketing was basically started by myself and Emma, my co-founder.
Yeah.
The idea behind it is we started off with the idea that there's a lot of organizations with small budgets, but they have big plans and they got limited budgets to make those plans work. So what we decided to do was initially make go-to-market strategies, where we would get really deep into the business and we'd work out plans of attack, everything from a budget to a calendar, and it kind of alleviated the need for them to have ongoing marketing, so like a retainer basis kind of thing.
Right.
And then we grew from that. So we started doing it with startups, then we did it for charities, and then I guess it just grew word of mouth, and then we started to make a real go of it about a year ago. And then we found a good space for us, a good little niche where we do like, low cost, high impact, and immediately measurable results for companies.
Perfect.
It's going quite well, frankly.
Yeah, well, I can imagine, because most people get confounded by marketing. There's so many companies trying to flog them, SEO, AdWords, you name it. And it's confusing, because I think, I'm a big fan of measuring marketing, as you said. And I think unless you can measure it, you shouldn't do it. And I know it's a big statement, but it sort of puts accountability on the marketing spend as well. So that's great. So tell me a bit about, like, obviously we're in the middle of a COVID experience, and from what you've just described, you've just gone away from Melbourne into a worse lockdown. But what are you doing from a business perspective to navigate the current environment?
Well, apart from my hobby of chasing lockdowns around the world, following on from the previous point, I guess the way we're navigating it is what you just said is true. Every dollar in marketing needs to be accounted for. People need to be able to make sure that there's a measurable result that they can see, and not necessarily they want to look, well into the future to make sure that they're realizing that dollar. So the idea that you just said, being able to measure it, is kind of what we focus on. The idea that, rather than looking into the SEO, we do stuff like that for Shoestring, SEO and ads and all that stuff, but we try to think about creative ways to, make sure that if we're spending $1, it's got a big impact. So maybe rather than just targeting a particular customer ad and spray and pray approach, we'll do. And if we can get in front of them, they can present the idea of our client to members. Suddenly we've got a one-to-many approach, and it didn't cost them $1 in ads, So I think the way we navigate it is we kind of look at the idea that people are trying to restrict their resources. They're trying to lower their marketing budgets. So it's actually provided an opportunity for us because we're a good alternative. Shoestring Marketing, the name says it all. So I think that in terms of navigating it, we've got myself in Israel, we've got Emma and Joe and the rest of our team in Australia. We're able to kind of reach out broadly, and frankly, I think it's been a blessing for us. The idea of people trying to save money, it's working for us because we're a good opportunity for people, a good alternative. So
tell me, with the clients that you're working with, what opportunities are you seeing for them right now in this sort of environment?
Look, frankly, the biggest thing I've seen for clients is LinkedIn. The ability to get right in front of your prospects and to have a conversation with them, like we're having now. It's great for the client. In other words, the person can understand who they're dealing with, what their pain points are, whether they even have a good fit before they actually delve into this, long-term relationship. So I feel like the opportunities are, although we're further apart, in many respects, we're closer together because we can have these conversations in such a way that we weren't previously doing. I mean, I'm on calls with Canada, Mexico, Estonia, Finland, UK, before I was in Australia, that time zone. I feel like the opportunity is that the world's become much smaller, even though we're further apart in terms of social distancing. So that's been good. The other thing I think in terms of opportunity is, very rarely do you ever have the ability to easily see what's going to happen. I mean, right now, we now live in a world where we can already understand some of the ramifications of the pandemic. You don't have to be a genius to realize that this isn't going anywhere soon, which means I know that there's a bunch of markets which have to pivot. And I already know from my perspective how they're going to need to pivot, because there's no more music festivals for them to go to if you're going to do like selling a big, drink. There's no more bars or clubs. If you want to try to rethink the way that people are doing business meetings, you're going to think about Zoom. Very rarely is it so easy to predict what's going to happen in many areas.
Yeah, it's quite true, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people still have this hope that there's a vaccine coming out and it'll all go back to normal. And I always say it's a very naive thought to think they can create a vaccine and things will go back to normal. And if you want to think that, your competitors who actually go the other way and say, let's capitalize on you thinking about that, they're going to cash in and you're going to be left on the shelf. And you're right. It's very predictable what's going to happen, and more so than people think, because they say this is unpredictable. And you go, well, actually, it's not anymore. We've worked it out. We know it's not going away. And we know that when there's more cases, there's going to be more lockdown. And we know there's not going to be public groups. And we know there's not going to be this for a long time. So waiting for that to happen, you might as well go and shut your doors right now and avoid the pain, right?
Yeah. And you bring a good point, because, I mean, we had a client early in the year, a really good client, one of our favorites. And we started with them in February, and we started doing a strategy with them in March.
Yeah.
In Australia. It was launching an energy drink. And wow, we had to do a go-to-market strategy, which had not just 2 different variations of budget, but all the different potential outcomes of social distancing, restrictions, lockdowns, everything. So the go-to-market strategy went from, still quite a comprehensive document, 40 pages of, 2 different budgets. But now it's 2 different budgets with, if this happens, this. If this happens, if suddenly everything goes away, we'll go back to plan A. But there's a plan A, B, C, D, E, and the ability to think critically and to analyze the environment, I don't think it's ever been more important. So, I agree with you. It's naive to think it's going to go away, but at the same time, it's downright stupid not to plan for those scenarios. If you don't plan for every scenario,
you're spot on. And this is why I'm not a fan of the word pivot, because pivot sounds like a one-off, where being adaptable means being nimble. And I think what you just described is you have to have a plan A, B, C, D, and E, and you actually don't know which one you're going to be implementing until the day. And if you don't have that plan ready on the day, you miss the boat. And it's all about the timing. And the exciting part about that is you can stuff your plan up and no one really cares, right? Because a plan that's bad is better than no plan at all. And I think that nimbleness, ability to say, well, this is what's just happened, what can we do about it, is going to be the strength in a business moving forward.
I think it also follows on from your initial point about measuring results.
Yeah.
I think if you really know your objectives, if you've sat down and you've analyzed what you want to achieve, not just from a marketing perspective, but what do you want to achieve in general, your business, maybe your personal life is involved somehow, you've got competing priorities. So rather than think about the KPIs that everyone's giving you, think about the ones that really matter. And I think if you use that measure of success, that North Star will keep you honest. It'll keep you on the right path. And then your plans can change because they're changing in order to respond to the environment, which you need to do to achieve your objectives, not anyone else's, which is, I think that's an issue a lot of businesses are facing, where they keep changing their plans, but they're not necessarily thinking about how those plans are going to impact on their objectives. They're thinking about how they can make a quick decision to keep their head above water, whether or not that keeping their head above water is actually what they want at that particular point in time.
It's survival rather than strategy, right?
That's right. You need to be strategic. Exactly. You need to be strategic.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me ask you, obviously we've all experienced a big change in our business lives during COVID. What's been a personal lesson for you out of this event?
A personal lesson?
Yeah. Other than the fact you had to travel halfway around the world when there were no airplanes to find the girl of your dreams, but except for that one.
Yeah, that drove me crazy. By the way, one cool thing about flying in Corona is you get your own row in the airplane.
So I'm sure you paid for it as well.
No, that was good.
No?
I think if you're crazy enough to fly, they'll give you a decent deal. But actually, I really appreciated some of the self-reflection I was able to do in Corona. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, I have an identical twin brother
Right.
in Melbourne,
Yeah.
and that's actually initially why I wanted to go back. He had a baby girl.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah, and so I became an uncle, and it's like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I just love this little girl to bits, and I never really thought, just never had that revelation about how much I really care about family. And I think also the idea of everyone kind of, it was a big lockdown in Melbourne, right? So
yeah.
Your priorities and time, who you spend your time with, how much it hurts when you're not with the people that you want to be with. And excuse my French, but a lot of the bullshit goes away because you will spend time with the people you want to spend time with, and you're not making excuses about stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You will put your energy into business because now you really appreciate what it means to have a job, to have income, to work your butt off. You know, my grandparents are still with us, and I'm so thankful. You know, I was living with my mum for a few months, which I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have thought that I would have gone so well, but actually, I'm grateful for the experience, you know.
Fantastic.
And to be there when I thought I was just going to be there for the birth or maybe a couple months max of my niece, but I was able to be there for half a year. I'm grateful for it. Like I really feel like some of the things that we prioritize in life were able to be reshuffled in a way that was more meaningful, I think.
I think you have to prioritize your values when you've got limited time and limited access. You have to knock out all the noise, right?
Right.
So let me ask you, you've been in business for a while, you're entrepreneurial. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
I think if I had to narrow it down to one thing, it's ask for advice all the time. You do not know anything. You think you have a great idea, and if you don't test it, verify, validate, all those buzzwords, if you don't actually do the homework, I mean, one of the key things that we bring in Shoestring Marketing is answering this particular issue. It's solving this problem. Do the homework, do the research, ask everyone. Because if you don't have humility around your ideas, if you think that you know everything and that your idea is great because it's your idea, you're gonna need to be lucky to have success there. I think every hour and every dollar you spend on research. I mean, what we do for clients now, we know what their customers, which podcasts they listen to, what websites they go, they visit, what Twitter handles and hashtags they use, what their age groups are, and I really think that that's how you get success. So my advice would be seek information, ask for help. You don't know anything.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have a favorite book?
I do, actually. It's a bit corny. It was in high school. I think it's the first book that we studied. It was called To Kill a Mockingbird. It was the first non-Shakespeare book. I'm a lawyer by trade. I did 9 years working in charity law, and I'm pretty sure subconsciously it could have been because of Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird that I decided to go towards the not so profit-making areas of law. Charity law is definitely not one of them. But
so what's the key message, the key takeaway from that book for you?
Principles. If you don't, I think that principles are not something that you can just say, I'm doing it sometimes. Principles mean you stand for them. And Atticus Finch is a pretty good role model for lawyers out there. And I think subconsciously had a lot to do with me. I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah, principles. Awesome. Principles matter.
Principles matter. So let me ask you the last question. Number one piece of business advice you'd give to someone who's in business right now? It's
going back to the same point about research. do everything. Spend a lot of time, a lot of effort on understanding your customers and your competitors.
Yeah.
Go out there. When you have an idea, ask somebody. Ask your ideal customer, who you think your ideal customer is. Am I solving this problem for you?
Yeah.
And if you go out there, if I did solve this problem for you, am I doing it better than your competitors? What would I need to do to make this something that you would use? And reach out to people directly, whether it's by email, LinkedIn, phone calls. Get information and feedback direct to the source, because you need to be able to first validate it and then be able to prove that you validated it. So the idea that you've just done a bunch of Facebook ads, got some responses and think that you know what next steps are. You may, but you also may not. It's important to actually delve into those questions deep, real deep, dig hard, and then find the answer. And don't be satisfied. Don't be satisfied until you really understand what's going on.
Yeah, brilliant. David, very conscious of your time. Thanks so much for joining us today. Enjoyed the conversation, learning a bit more about who you are, what you do, and what's important to you. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.